So, welcome to the Tearsheet podcast. This is a Tearsheet deep dive where we go deeper into one of our articles that we recently published. Today on the podcast, we have Sara, Toth, Stub joining us. Sara, welcome again.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about debit rewards programs, right?
Yes.
So, what's going
That's
on
the
out
plan.
there in rewards land?
Okay, so in rewards land in general, we've seen in the last several years, due mainly to reforms following the financial crisis back in 2008, 2009, we've seen that the debit cards from traditional banks are not usually offering cash back or other generous rewards programs. They're pretty much just basically taking the money that you spend on your debit card out of your bank account, and that's about it. But meanwhile, credit cards do have pretty generous and competitive rewards programs for earning airlines miles or cash back, or really anything you can think of these days. So those are very strong.
And is that because
But we've seen,
interchange fees are higher on credit cards than on debit cards?
yes, I think
Okay.
that's what most experts say, that because such cashback rewards used to be available with some debit cards, it was pretty popular among banks. But when the reforms lowered or capped the interchange fees that banks could charge on debit cards, there wasn't a lot of extra wiggle room left
Hmm.
to offer those rewards.
Interesting. So, and is this being led by Fintechs, or is it being led more by traditional banks, these new rewards programs?
So the new rewards programs are in the debit space, are being led by fintechs and challenger banks or digital first banks. We see that some of them are actually just in the last, I would say over the last year, we've seen some big names start to offer things, but they're starting to offer various arrangements for cash back on certain purchases, sometimes cash back across the board. And I think this is happening because so there's more competition in the space, and there's also a growing demand among customers, especially younger customers, to use debit cards rather than credit cards. Like, they want the rewards, but they want to be able to do it in a debit fashion and not in a credit card fashion where you can rack up a bill. So we're seeing that. Another thing to mention is there are a lot of apps out there that you can link, really any debit or credit card to, apps like Dash and Drop and Bumps. And those sort of apps allow people to earn cash back at many brands, thousands of brands. So sometimes it's cash back, like with Dash. With the app Drop, it's earning gift cards back to certain merchants. So that's also out there as competition. And I would say, from my research and reporting, and just from being a customer in the 21st century, we see loyalty and rewards programs everywhere, from every clothing retailer, Starbucks. Everyone seems to have them. So it's definitely something I think that customers expect, and it's an important form of marketing and entertainment for customers in general.
So given all the research you did for this article, would you say that there's innovation going on? Are we at that level yet, or is it more just like, rising competition, just breeding, more options at this point?
I think at this point, there's not really so much innovation when you think about it. I think it's more just keeping up with the competition. There's a bit of innovation, or I would say that fintechs are actually relying sometimes on previous innovation. Like, I believe that Venmo works with Dash, which anyone can link a card to Dash, but they have internalized this and set it up. So I guess we're seeing an increasing number of partnerships using existing technologies in the background, but different people, different entities linking up to provide what feels new to the customer. So that's something that we are seeing.
Got it. So Sara, you mentioned a couple of these super apps like Dash. Can we talk about, I guess, the basic rewards programs that you saw out there that are worth noting?
Yeah, like what companies are doing. So Square, which has a cash app, they have a program called Boost, which can give you quite generous cash back deals. But there are some things about it. Like, you can only, I'm not an expert in all of their exactly how it works,
That's
but
all right.
basically they limit how many boosts you can pick. I think you can only use one a day, and you can switch it every 24 hours. So it's not cash back across the board. And that's actually how a lot of these things are working.
Mm.
Venmo also has deals, and you can use many of them a day, I believe, but it's at certain retailers, like at Target, for example. It's not just cash back across the board wherever you go. And an important thing to note about these also is they do have limits. Like, for example, the Venmo deal, where I believe it's 10% cash back at Target. There's a maximum, like you can get only $10 back. So it's not like you can spend thousands of dollars in these merchants and get hundreds of dollars back. So it's important to read the fine print with the cashback offers that we see. Now, there is a Canadian startup, Coho, which offers a prepaid debit card, and they pretty much give 0.5% cash back pretty much across the board.
Hmm.
But that's relatively rare. More what we're seeing are these fintechs partnering up, like N26 just announced some deals that of 15% cash back with Booking.com and 50% off Lime scooter rentals. But again, they're making partnerships, and they're sharing the cost of the deal with that partner. So that's also something to note, that there's a lot of teaming up and partnering up. It's not just the startup or the bank absorbing this through the interchange fees they're making. That's not how it's working. We do see some other creativity out there. For example, the app Acorns, they offer a type of cash back, which I believe they also call cash forward, and that money is actually invested into people's ETF funds, across the stock market to be invested. And we also saw the company Stash. They actually allow their users to earn cash back at certain brands, but rather than straight cash back, what you actually get are micro shares in those brand stocks. So there is some creativity in that sense. And then let's see, we have Brex, which is a credit card aimed at mainly technology startups.
Mm-hmm.
And this is important to know. It's credit, I believe, not debit, but mainly credit. But it's following along the same lines of sort of tailored programs, meaning that they're working with partners, and you're getting a higher percentage of cash back for things that startups spend money on, like ride sharing programs and software expenses, coffee shops. And again, they're working with partners to make those deals possible. So that's something interesting to note as well.
So I wanted to go back to something you said earlier on. You said customers are getting kind of more savvy in this. Are customers driving the changes that are going on in this debit rewards field? And if not, what is driving sort of the changes in the new options?
So yeah, I think most experts would say that customer demand is driving and encouraging companies to offer rewards that sound generous and rewards that sound, easy to redeem. I think I read in a report from PricewaterhouseCoopers that credit cards, this is just credit cards, that spend $31 billion a year on rewards programs, or that's what they spent in 2016. So that's quite a lot of money to spend on that, but I guess they see it as worth it. And people, apps and fintechs and digital banks that are also offering financial services, are also seeing the need to compete. And as there are more of them, people aren't, there are many payments apps and many things that they're trying to draw customers. It's no longer in the days of, that there's PayPal and no other competitors or something like that. There are competitors. So they're using this to draw people in.
So I guess we have time for one last question. And so you mentioned that there are, there's straight ahead rewards programs that cash back, cash forward. There's stock-based programs. And then there's the emergence of these super apps that sit on top of other debit cards.
Right.
This is obviously the $1 trillion question, but what do you think the future looks like? Like, are we just going to see more of the same? Did you get a feel for some opportunities out there? Like, I guess, given what you saw, like, what do you think the future has in store in 2020 for debit rewards programs and for customers of them?
So the people the companies that I talked to, they said that they thought they would probably see more in this space, and this is sort of just the beginning. Because it's still a relatively new and emerging thing, but they all seem to say that yes, the customers are making demands, that customers are hard to keep, that they want to give their customers the best value, and this is a key way they see in doing that. And one other thing that several of them mentioned actually was sort of what part of an underlying theme in the whole fintech industry in some sense, or in payments, is that the idea that customers want more transparency and less fees, that sort of thing. So they mentioned that with these rewards programs, they're also trying to build on the theme of transparency and communicate that to the customer. So rather than accruing points that you then need to redeem, like a lot of credit card programs have, they are often promoting their programs as, automatic cash back the moment you make the purchase, things like that. So that's another theme that I think will continue to see the transparent nature, or at least what they market as a transparent nature of these programs.
Interesting. Well, I want to ask a corollary, I guess, a follow-on question, what I just asked. Behind the scenes, there are a few, bank sponsors that sponsor some of these programs. Do you see sort of a movement towards parity in the types of services that these debit cards offer? Meaning, do a lot of the programs kind of look and smell the same?
Yeah, they do actually. I guess we have in the category of cash back. Yes, they are similar because a lot of them are cash back at certain merchants. Now, many of them have, hundreds of merchants to choose from, but yes, I think that it is looking similar, a high percentage of cash back, yet there is a limit, or yet there is a limit on how many times a day you can do it and how many different merchants you can use it at. So yes, I would say that there is similarity.
So those programs that go out and actually, as you described, make partnerships, I guess, based on their clientele's sort of needs and predilections, stuff like that, those, in a way,
Yeah.
those distinguish themselves from some of the other programs.
Right. And I guess another key sort of theme that seemed to be emerging is the idea of flexibility and tailored to a person's needs. So rather than cash back everywhere, they're focusing on, where are our customers spending their money, and sort of trying to put the biggest deals or best sounding deals in the spaces where people are spending the most money. So that's a way that they're also, sort of playing into this. We're flexible, we are tailored, we're personalized. That also seems to be a theme here.
Sara, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for joining us on the Tearsheet podcast today.
Okay. Thank you. Nice talking to you as well.